Hey everybody, Charlie back. Welcome to the channel. Working on the CB750 project. At this point we're getting ready to start on the subframe assembly. If you watched the previous clip, we worked on the actual tank, getting the tank mounted, or at least the forward fixture of the tank. We had to modify it. So at this point we're going to, we've already started cutting some of the actual frame parts. I had to go yesterday to the metal store and I picked up some 1-inch heavy wall, so 0.125 wall thickness tubing to actually make it, because I want the span of the the subframe is going to be pretty long, so I wanted a heavier wall thickness to support body weight on there, because we're going to do minimalistic as far as a bottom support. So let me go ahead and show you what we got, and then we'll continue on from there. All right, so we have, I'm making the seat 8 inches across, or at least the subframe. And the way the frame on the bike, it's very narrow, it's about 6 inches. So I've already pre-bent the front, so all I have to do is tube notch this segment of it. But I went ahead and cut my cross members. I haven't welded them or anything, they're just setting in place. So I'm going to figure out where I want these cross members so I can pre-tack it, and being able to use the welding table to, since these are bent, to be able to try to keep these square and parallel to each other as far as the angles go. Anyways, I'm going to get my measurements and I'll probably go ahead and get these tacked up wherever, whatever position I'm going to put. And we'll come back and I'll kind of show you what we got going on. That's it. I throw tons of measuring and putting my plumb bobs on, levels, all that good stuff. I finally got the top section of the rear frame, or the subframe, tacked on. I'll give you a show what I got, and after that I'm going to get this, at least the front section, welded up and start building the support brackets for the bottom. So here we go. This is my rigged up plumb bob assembly, so I can measure off the rim to center off the back section of the frame. My level for leveling here, I already had leveled the bike, measuring it from the triple clamp. There's a section on the frame here that had some, not necessarily saying that the bike is level, but it's pretty darn close, and it was good enough for this to make sure I got the subframe done. Put the tank on, the alignment looks really good. So at this point I just need to come in, weld up the subframe section. Like I said, I got the cross members in here. This section right here is 8 inches across, and then I tapered it in so it would tie into the frame. This section here is about where the tank is, end of the tank is at, so I'll be able to put my quick release section. I'll have to weld something on there to put the pin for that, but that's all done. All right, here we are. I have the uprights all cut and in position. I just got them tacked in place and rechecked all my levels. You can see the tank's on there. Get the, because it's really wide, 8 inches wide right here. So it should flow out really nice. Time to get the pad on here. So voila, that's it. I'll get this all welded up and we'll kind of wrap up with this for right now. All right, it's all welded up, ready to go here. This is still tacked because I'm not sure if I'm going to cut this back yet or not, because the way I'm doing my lighting is going to be an oval channel, and so the channel is going to have to screw into this somehow. So I got to figure out what I want to do, so I didn't want to completely weld that until I'm sure what I'm going to do. Other than that, this is all welded, ready to go. I can mount the tank, so I can go ahead. I may end up just using the mount points that's on the tank. I might have to bang them out a little bit, straighten them up so they'll work for this subframe, and then I might be able to just get away with using the bolts that's for that particular tank, and then not worry about using a quick release. But anyways, this is all done, so I'll probably work on getting the tank mounted and finished. That way we can work on the rest. I'm going to get something, potentially get a plate. I may or may not. I may go ahead and get a plate because I I like to have the cleanliness because I'm not sure if I'm going to use a wheel hugger yet. So I want this to be sheeted on the bottom side and be flush to the bottom of the tube. That way, because my electronics and stuff will be back here, with the exception of the actual engine electronics will probably be up here. So, and then my wire harness straps will go in here at a later time. If you've watched some of my other videos on how I do my wiring harness straps, so those will be installed later. So like I said, I want this closed up so that I can run my cables and not have to worry about getting dirt and mud and all that kind of stuff being thrown up from the rear tire. Hey, all right, so what we've done is I have started to create the tank mount. I cut the tabs off. I didn't want to do the corners. It just wasn't coming out the way I wanted it. So what I did is I made a box, as you can see right there. Let me take the tank off. And then what I did is I cut an angle on it and I welded a nut internal before I folded it over and welded up the sides. So what I'm planning on doing is I have a piece of 1 inch and this is 1 inch square tubing. I got a piece of 1 1/4 inch that'll cradle over the top of it with very little play in it. By the time you get paint and all that stuff, it'll still have a little bit of play, but not enough to be sloppy. So what I'll be able to do is weld that 1 1/4 inch to the bottom side of this tank into this lip. Here, let me put it back on. And then come in with the bolt, and I'll bend that 1 1/4 inch down to cradle over the top of this, and then you can run a bolt right through and voila, tie the tank in. And it's all good. And then what will happen is I usually put a piece of rubber between the mount on here and this mount in the frame, so it'll be an absorber, shock absorber, and it also will pull it off of the actual frame. So I generally don't, when I build it to touch, because the metal's touching, because I'm going to put a piece of 1/8 inch Buna rubber strip in there, and then that'll elevate it off the frame. So that's it where we're at. When we come back, I'll have the channel done on the tank, and you can see what that looks like. Okay, everybody, we got the tank mount in. We got it welded to the tank, and I got my temporary piece of rubber on here. As you can see, I can spin it around. There's that. It's welded into the tank. So once it goes in, we can thread it in by hand. It's a little bit snug, or not snug, but just close to the edge of the tank, so it's tough. So anyways, we got this in, it's done. So as you can see, I got a nice little gap here because with the rubber in there that pulls the tank off, and it's now supported completely with dampers. So yay, that's all done. At this point, we are gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do for the bottom side here as far as welding recessed tabs, threaded tabs, or a strip, one of the two. I may end up just doing a solid strip. That way I can just drill so far apart and go ahead and put the plate in. So I'm just going to determine what size thickness plate I'm going to put in here to make it flush across the bottom, but all is well. Oh, the nice thing is, the reason why I did that mount that way, see if you can see it here underneath there, is that when my wire harness comes through to the front, it can just go over the top rather than putting a plate all the way across that I would have to potentially cut or whatever to allow the wire harness to pass. This worked out really nice. It's nice and solid, and I'm happy with that. So anyways, that's it for this. I think we're gonna run this episode, and then we'll come back on a new episode with closing in and starting to prep for the seat hump in the back. So anyways, that's that. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.